Oh, look at that, straight away. And we've got a question from last week. If you won the lottery, who would you become? What if this was just to be a continuation of last week? Hey everyone, hope all is well. I am Myles Dyer and welcome to Myles Dyer Live, where we hang out every Wednesday this time to chill, relax and talk about all sorts, including what sort of person would you become if you won the lottery? I mean, that was the kind of cliffhanger we ended on last week. We had lots of questions about what would be the most ridiculous thing you would first spend your lottery win on if you won loads and loads of money. And it was actually a really good conversation last week. Really good on the polls as we were debating, would you tell anyone if you won the lottery, or would you keep it to yourself? Would you give any away? It was good. But what I really liked was that a lot of people were asking from the get-go, wait, saying you won the lottery, like how much? Because like as a usual phrase, we always talk about like winning the lottery as in like the big jackpot. But we were also talking about like what is the smallest that you can win, and you can win just a few dollars here and there. But I hope you're all doing good. I am sleep deprived. I am exhausted because yesterday was the VR game showcase for anyone that was not aware of it. For those that were not, the VR game showcase is run by Zena and Jamie, wonderful human beings who, I think this is their third one now. They do these dev showcases or directs, and it's all about having a premium showcase where developers, publishers, gamers from around the world tune in, they contribute and show announcements, whether it's trailers of like announced titles or upcoming details like release dates, or even just announcing initiatives and things like that. And it was amazing to be working on that, representing Flat2VR Studios, obviously a part of Impact Reality. And yeah, I haven't had much time to process it. I'm still kind of running on adrenaline from it. I probably had like 3 hours sleep last night. It wasn't a lot. And I'm actually, after this show, got to do a bit more work, but then I'm going to be co-hosting PSVR Without Parole. Normally it's done on a Friday. I'm not going to be about Friday. So I've swapped with Wes. So Wes Day. It's going to be Myles Day, I guess. And then his is Too Wise Day, I guess it could be. But yeah. So it's going to be a very busy day. But I thought that as I'm sort of unpacking the VR game showcase, and I have talked a little bit about it on like Without Parole, but I thought, you know what, for this like next 50 minutes, I'm happy to just take questions about the VR game showcase, what it's like. I'll start talking about like what my experience has been working on it, because it has been really interesting to go from being just a consumer of gaming showcases, someone who normally is at home getting some snacks, good drink, just chilling, watching it, or maybe doing it on my computer while in the live chat along everyone else, wondering what is next going to be shown on screen. And that's really, really good fun. And that has been pretty much what gaming showcases have always been for me. But then in the last couple of years, got involved with Without Parole, and I was doing the sort of co-streams where as the showcase is on screen, me and Brian, or maybe AJ or Wes, we would be watching it and reacting in real time. And I was joking about this on Friday's show that I don't struggle as much anymore, but it is kind of difficult because I think some people are naturally just very avert when they react to things on screen, like, oh my God, what the fuck? Just like throwing their chair over and all things like that. Whereas me, I could literally in my head be going, OMFG. But then my face is just like, because I'm not used to being watched as I'm reacting. I'm just sort of like taking it in. And obviously looking at the live chat and things like that. So that's been it for a couple of years. And then March of this year, I was in the States with my good friend Eric Masha, who's the COO of Impact Reality, Flat2VR Studios. And I was coordinating the social media efforts around the VR game showcase for Flat2VR Studios. We had, I think, 5 or 6 trailers. It was ridiculous, of the good kind. And so we were publishing it across all these social accounts, like 30, 35 social accounts. Very stressful. very anxiety inducing because you just feel like in this moment we've really got to nail it. And I learned a lot from that, which I'll talk about. But then yesterday was the VR Game Showcase, and not only was it about coordinating the social media, my role has definitely evolved a lot at Impact Reality and Flat2VR Studios. I joined as a social media strategist, then in March became their director of social media, and although that is my role now, I definitely am sort of fleshed out more into content as a whole. And so me and the incredibly talented folk in my team that do all the content, videos, graphics, community engagement, they put together 4 amazing videos for this showcase, which went up yesterday, and so I'll talk about that. So it was amazing to be a part of the process of, this is what we want to announce, how are we going to do it, and then all the struggles and obstacles you jump over leading up until launch day. And obviously I'm not going to be able to talk about absolutely everything. Like working for a company, there are things that we have to keep, behind the scenes, and that's all very, very important. But I'm sure there's a lot of things that I will be talking about which might be of interest. But again, I'm happy to take questions. So if any of you have any questions throughout, just put a Q at the beginning of your question or your comment, just so I know it's a question that's not rhetorical and you want me to answer it. I'll save it and then I can go through it. But yeah, I just thought, and by the way, you can also ask me questions about the things that we announced. And I'm probably going to tell you, at this point, we have nothing else to declare. But you can try, so I don't blame you, because if I was you, I would be trying. So, yeah. Anyway, before we get on with the show, because I am just going to, normally we chat for actually, we might end up just chatting for 15 minutes. We normally do the first half an hour talking about whatever, and then we go into the main topic, but we might ramble for a little bit. Why not? Let's get some background music. Oh, hopefully I don't fall asleep with this. And let's just say hello to some of the people in the chat as you get your questions in. And also I'm going to talk about a movie I saw the other night, which I loved. Can you guess what it was? If you follow me on social media, you know what it will be. Dead Ringer, the Game Cat, hello to you, saying that you hope you can watch the show live. I guess I'll find out as I scroll down. But can you let us know how Flat2VR Spark will impact releases on PSVR 2? Would we expect this to double the games expected? Triple? Hard to tell. Well, I'll save that and I'll definitely answer that later. Canic Tunes, you got your pasta. Good to see that. 90 Native, backlogged Game Cat. We've got a social post planned actually about asking what is on your VR backlog or gaming backlog. Like, we all have games that we want to get back to, right? Moj says, watching but won't be interacting. I am absolutely loaded with a head, chest cold. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, feel better soon, Mojo. And yeah, drink lots of water. Very, very important. I should be doing that as well. 8-bit Moss Player says, hey everyone, are you able to play the Flat2VR segment again before the discussion? I mean, I'll put on screen like a screenshot of it. I won't play them all. Definitely go check them out on the Flat2VR Studios channel, and hit a like button and all that. But I won't be playing them on here. I mean, I might do. We'll find out. I just need to make sure I'm playing the right versions, because I've got so many different versions of them on my computer at the moment. Hello, Dominic Maguire. Good to see you here. Siago Guitarist. Hello, friends. I love this. This is great. Dominic, you watched it with the Without Parole guys. Oh, there we go. I realised that these comments are coming up way too high. So there we go. That's a bit better. Okay, DJ Chamber, hello to you. Question about Flat Out 4. Cool. Callie Timecat, hello. And yeah, we're trying to work out what we're going to call it. Myles Day, yeah. West Day just sounds so good. It's great, which is why I was very precious and protective of him when I was asking if we could swap. Right. One question that I will get to right away. Callie Timecap was saying, what does the 25 XP at the top of this live chat mean? So this was, we mentioned this a few weeks ago, I think. It's something they've been rolling out. So you get XP for commenting in the chat. You get extra XP for doing super chats. And they just have a ranking of like top 3 chatters. I think they have a full leaderboard if you look at the top of the live chat. It doesn't translate to anything other than credentials, I guess. You could put it on your resume. I was number 1 on Myles Dyer Live, episode 199. 199, can you believe that? Next week is episode 200. I have still not worked out what the plans are going to be, but we'll sort it out. Salvador, hello to you, my friend. And every time Salvador says hello, I always have to pat the Madison camera. Awesome. And no worries, Mojo. Feel better. John says, hello, Sir Myles. Sir Myles, it's been ages. Great to hear going strong. By the way, I weirded my dad out a week or two ago because he said something and I went, yes, sir. And he went, sir. And it's just because I've got into a habit of saying it at work. Damien, who I work with. Damien Ruffy does Rough Talk podcast. Awesome human being. He says it from time to time, and I think it's rubbed off on me. Cool. We got some good questions. Got some questions. Oh my god, I love these. Son WTF and Nate what? 90 native backlog game cat has just gifted 5 Myles Dyer memberships. Thank you very much. Very, very kind. Virtual Renaissance. Love that. Isn't that such a cool avatar? The Mona Lisa. Well done to you. Nikki, the Brain Bowel Connection. Again, look at these. I love these avatars. Gino DeMarco and J Gamer UK. Hello to all of you and welcome to the membership. You get to use funky emojis now. Right, I'm just favoriting these questions. Here we go. We got it there. Nice. So, before we talk about the main show, and obviously feel free to keep the questions coming. I've got 7 queued up. Whether I answer them all, there are going to be some that I look at and go, I might not answer that because I might put myself in a difficult position. But yeah. So the other day, I went to the theatre. I went to see it on... Did I go and see it on... No, I saw it on Sunday night. So, I had payday. And I was very much in need of some Bunsen, as David Brent would say. Bit of Bunsen burner, a little old earner. And so, I don't know about you, like we all have different things that we splash out on when we have just been paid. And for me, I do love self-care. I do love having some self-care. And I needed a lot of self-care. And so, one of the things... I did was I had a flotation tank in the morning. Flotation tanks are my thing that I love. So I had that. Then I booked myself into the barbers and I went for the full shebang. They do a full like makeover. And my barber, awesome guy, always does a great job. And I thought, you know what, going to do the full thing. So actually, like I've had my beard. I've never had a beard properly trimmed before, so I've got like this going on. I mean, you can see it's a bit uneven because I don't grow much there on that side compared to that. But I don't know. What does the look look like? This was nothing to do with the barber. He did a great job, but as I was going home, I was like, maybe I'll shave it off when I get home. I don't know if this is a me thing, but I've sort of embraced it. But yeah, I've gone with it. I always like the gradient down the side. I've always been wanting to grow my hair long again, but I just... Once it gets to a certain length, it gets a bit messy. But I had so much stuff, like flannels getting put over my face. And like, I also had waxing done. And I'm just going to share this photo. Check this out. So, the joke I made on my socials was... he could have literally put a pineapple on my head and I would have just been like, fine. Whatever you need to do it. Yeah? Because he like had these like, I thought they were lollipop sticks, they're cotton buds, with very warm wax. And up the nose, in the ears, and then they put it all over my face. And then what they do is it hardens and then they yank them out. And it didn't actually hurt too much, but I did feel the benefits of it. I was worried a bit of brain was going to come out. So yeah, that was me. He also gave me the full like makeover like this. Look at that. Me getting proper makeover treatment. Unbelievable. So yeah. How do you breathe? Yeah. In the video, you see me like, yeah, that's it. Are you sure that's wax? I mean, at first, the smell of it, I was like, it could be bubblegum. Bubblegum. But anyway, that happened. And then I went for a walk. I then went and visited my parents. I had a gin and tonic in their neighbour's garden. They have wonderful neighbours. It was sunny. It was beautiful. And then I went to the theatre. Like I was just talking about, went to the movies. And I thought, oh, let's just talk about my full day of self-care. It was amazing. It was such a good day. Like nothing planned. Did a bit of housework. And I went to see, because like after you've had a flotation tank, you've had a relaxing 1 hour session at the barber, you've gone for a nice walk around the lake in the nice sunshine, you had a gin and tonic with your parents and their neighbours in the garden in the sun, and you just feel relaxed. What should you then do? You should go to the movie theatres by yourself to go see a horror movie, right? That's what you should definitely do. And that is exactly what I did. So I went to see Weapons by Zach Cregger, who I think is amazing. I've started posting on Letterboxd again, and I've been loving it. All I will say about Weapons is, like Barbarian, his first movie, which I absolutely loved, go in blind. I had an amazing time with it. I think I gave it 4 out of 5. I definitely could have given it a 4.5 out of 5. And they do run anime style. Dude, it's definitely a horror movie, but it's more of a thriller. But it does have some really horrific moments in it. And again, I'm not going into any specifics, but there is one shot where it probably lasts for about 90 seconds and the camera does not cut away, and it's like a thick shot on something, and you see something incredibly creepy, and like I'm getting chills as I'm talking about it now. And then the camera keeps panning. And as it's panning, you just want it to cut away. It's horrible, and it just keeps going and going. And it goes from like the audience sort of laughing at how weird it is to like genuine gasping. I had a really good time. The story is, it's about a class of 18 kids, and at 2:17 in the morning, 17 of them go missing, and they all go running like that into nowhere, and they're never seen again. And so the teacher is then wondering where they went, and they didn't know where they went, and so the teacher is getting a lot of shit from the locals, thinking, what did you say to them? Where did our kids go? And it's about like how communities and individuals deal with different things. It was amazing. So yeah, I highly recommend it. So yeah. I look forward to hearing the answer to the Spark question. Hope you are well. Thank you very much. Yeah. Don't they use cucumbers? I don't know. Turned volume down, going in blind. Okay, completely blind. Well, I only said what was on the trailer, the premise of it, but that's fair enough. You can turn it back up now. It is amazing when the whole cinema grasps. But yeah. Yeah, go and see it. Not everyone's going to like the movie, but I think it definitely will start a conversation. And Zach Cregger is like, I've always been a fan of him since he did The Whitest Kids You Know, and he did a great job with it. But yeah. Is that a Naruto run? Yeah, it kind of is. He just said he put it in the movie because it's creepy. All right, people. So, without further ado, I think we should just talk about the main topic, right? Is this what we should do? Hit the like button if you haven't already. Half of you haven't hit it yet. And by the way, Jamie Feltham or Xena, if any of you are watching right now, just give me a text and I can send you a link that you can dial into the show and you can just chat about it with me if you're about now. I'm just saying it because Jamie and Xena move in mysterious ways. You'd find out much later that they've been watching stuff that you didn't know. And no, I haven't seen The Naked Gun. I was going to say I definitely want to see it. I was pretty much wanting to see it, but I don't know. It takes me a lot to go to the theatres. Maybe a Monday when it's half price. But, you know, $22 for a movie. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. So anyway, VR Game Showcase yesterday. these were the 4 things that we announced. We announced new DLC for Trombone Champ Unflattened, Undertale and Deltarune. 2 games that I was aware of, I haven't played, but I definitely recognise the music. Awesome. We then announced the launch of the Kickstarter for Postal 2 Redux, which is a flat screen game. We're publishing it, but we are doing Postal 2 VR. And all the benefits that come from the Kickstarter will go into the VR version of the game. We then announced an initiative, and by the way, I will go into each of these in more detail. We then announced a new initiative called Flat2VR Spark, and then we finally ended with a one more thing where we announced a new VR game that we're working on, which I have been so hyped to talk about for a long time, which is Poppy Playtime. And that is Huggy Wuggy right there, who is a lovely little fella. So yeah. Cool. All right, so I could go into questions straight away, but I'll just talk about each of these. So firstly, Trombone Champ. We have this new DLC, and what happens very early on is there are conversations internally at the company, because there's often discussions about, like, when is the right time to announce anything? Is there ever talking about too much of something? Is a particular announcement worthy of a VR game showcase? And if you are a company that is working on so many different types of projects, is amplifying or acknowledging one of them in a showcase saying something about the ones that you don't put in the showcase? I mean, the quick answer to that is no. I mean, it might be, but at the end of the day, we have to be tactical in what do we want to talk about now, and why would we want to talk about it now, as opposed to just doing it as a social post or talking about it later down the line. So going through these, I can actually do it in this through this framing. Trombone Champ Unflattened DLC. The DLC launched yesterday, so it was like, that makes sense, put it in the show. Trombone Champ Unflattened was Flat2VR Studios' first game that we launched, and many of you will remember on this very live stream a year or 2 ago, I was playing it and I said on it, I wish this came to VR as like a proper VR game. And so when I joined Impact Reality in Flat2VR Studios March of last year, and I saw that it was being worked on, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. This is such a great IP to work on as like a first title. So for me, I found that like starting with Trombone Champ Unflattened made sense, because it's kind of, it's weird saying this in the context of an indie studio and as VR, which is a niche market, and it is newer than the others. But like starting with Trombone Champ Unflattened, the DLC, it feels like the most traditional thing to start with. It's safe. It's like, here is a game that you know we've worked on, and here is an awesome new DLC for it. It's like, bam, right out the gate. It's a really short trailer, really great. Baz in our team who worked on it did a great job with it. Obviously, he has to do the playing himself and stuff like that. It's fun. Yeah, and it's like, that's what you go with. It's a great way of saying, yeah, we're Flat2VR Studios. You can expect this. And there we go. And so we went out with it. So that was a lot of fun. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything in the comment section. And thank you for everyone who's hitting the like button. Appreciate you very, very much. And it was really good. But when you're doing a DLC or any release, it's not just about like, I mean, this will sound obvious to a lot of people, but for those that don't work in the industry, it's not just about doing the trailer. It's then doing like versions for different platforms. So it's coming out on MetaQuest, or it's come out on MetaQuest, Steam VR and PSVR 2. And so for each of those platforms, you have to do all the content for those. So you need to have like a description. You need to do the key art, like the banner. You need the avatar. But then you have to think about how that key art looks on different parts of the website. So like the avatar on the store page might need to be a different version to the one that will appear on the store listing if people are searching. When you're doing the copy, you have to think about what is the opening line and how are people going to see that when they're on the store page. If you're on Meta Quest, you can do GIFs in the description, which is awesome. I wish PlayStation did it. PlayStation is just like a body of text. Whereas on Meta Quest, and actually on Steam VR, you can scroll down and you see that these GIFs. So you can be talking about a particular mechanic. So you could be saying, we have a new trombone in the DLC. And so you could have a GIF of the trombone being played. So you actually get a real sense of like what it is in the game. We're not just talking about it, but we're showing you as well. So there is a lot that goes into it. And our team now does a lot of prep for store launches. And it's a massive undertaking. And then there's the nerves of like making sure everything's been uploaded. Has it all been signed off? Are we ready to go live? And you can't just do it the day before. You have to do it weeks in advance. And so like there is a lot of like pressure of, let's say the developers are working on a DLC. They're working and they're building it as the marketing team is like, well, these are the things that we need for it. And right and down to the wire, there might be things that have been tweaked. There might be things that have been improved. Might, still be finding, there's a little bug there that we need to fix and stuff like that. There's so much to and fro. And it does often mean, and this isn't actually an isolated point for the VR or gaming industry. I think this is in most marketing departments that make their own content, at least from what I've experienced, is the content team in many ways is the end of the line, because as soon as like the build is ready, okay, now we can jump in and do it, which means that if things are still being worked on, we can't just start creating content because let's say like you've got the UI, like the menus, and it's going to look a bit different. Well, we need to wait until they're finished because you don't want to make a video, a trailer that features things that are incomplete. And sometimes you do, in which case you will do, as we'll talk about with Flat2VR Spark, there are times where you'll say that this is work in progress. And so you've got to be really clear on what you're communicating because you don't want people to be missold. Not only because it's illegal and, consumer rights are very important, but also you don't want to disappoint people. You'd rather like under promise and over deliver. I think that's what you've always got to do. And so that becomes a big part when you're doing showcases of like, you want to hype up a showcase as it's coming up. Like, and for Flat2VR Studios, right, there is so much hype behind like what IPs we could be working on and stuff and like what massive IPs. And so like, for example, Poppy Playtime, which I'll talk at the end once we get to it, Poppy Playtime is a massive IP. But if we had said beforehand, tune into the VR game showcase, we've got a massive IP to announce, you're going to have so many people speculating, going like, oh, The Last of Us VR, which I would love. I would love to be doing The Last of Us VR. Grand Theft Auto 6 VR. We always joke about that, like, we're getting GTA 6 VR before GTA 6. And then it creates discussion, and it then can create overhyped expectations, which is not the fault of the community. Like, I know what it's like. I was always trying to keep my expectations in check because there were loads of IPs I would be interested in, and so it's really difficult. So a lot of the times when it comes to our social leading up to it, the VR game showcase in this case will say Flat2VR Studios is going to be there, and on our socials we'll just be amplifying it, saying, yeah, can't wait to be there. And kind of you have to keep it like that. So going out the gate with Trombone Champion Flattened, it's an amazing, well-polished, fun game. It is a safe one to go with, but it's just a nice one of saying, this is something you're familiar with, here you go. Which means then when you start going to other stuff, you can surprise people more. Just looking at the chat. Yeah, John says customer service is paramount and net promoter score. So like one negative can, get rid of a 5-star positive. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, on reviews and that, it's really, really important that you encourage people to do things like that. So that's a big part of it. Right. The second thing we worked on, and then I'm going to start going through your questions. The second thing we did was we already announced we were working on Postal 2 VR at the last showcase, but this was about the Postal 2 Redux Kickstarter. Now, Postal 2 Redux, for those that don't know, Postal 2 was a game that came out like 22 years ago. I remember playing it when I was like 15, 16. And I went to my friend's house, and it was a completely outrageous sandbox game where you can just urinate everywhere. You can take a cat and put it on the end of your gun. Yes, I said that, a cat. Put it on the end of your gun and use it as a silencer. It's been the wildest project to work on, and running with scissors. Mike and Vince, who head that up, who are obviously the guys that made and are IP holders of Postal games, including Postal 2. They've been amazing to work with, but it's been really interesting working with them because as we're coming up with content, you know, they're working on content as well, and we work on stuff, and we come up with stuff that is like, I'll be writing copy for social media telling people to go F themselves. I'm like, this feels so weird, but it's fun. And actually, this comes down to an important part of, like, as a marketing company. Our job as a marketing company is to be invisible, not in the messaging, but in our presence in the way that the messaging is portrayed. And so what I mean by that is, like, in the case of doing Postal stuff, when we are making social media posts for Postal 2 Redux or Postal 2 VR, we don't want people to see our posts and go, oh, that's Impact Reality doing a Postal 2 social post. They want to look at it and go, oh, that's a Postal 2 social post. And so there's a lot of care and discussions going backwards and forwards. And what I love about Mike and Vince, and I was on their Running with Scissors live stream last night at 1 a.m. It was wild. I'm often saying to them, hey, here's an idea. Are you up for it? And they say, Myles, we're always up for it, dude. You tell us what you want us to do and we'll do it. And I clarified, and I like, that was amazing to hear, by the way. But I was just clarifying that from me, when I say that, what I'm saying is, like, of course you're up for doing whatever. What I mean is, like, does this feel true? Which is, I have a sense of what Postal 2 is, what the brand is, and, you know, immersing myself and learning about it. But I'm never going to know it as well as the super fans who are, like, going to be spearheading any campaign we do for, like, 20 years. And for Mike and Vince, who've been running the show this entire time. And so, you know, there's a lot of care that goes into it, and they've been just absolutely wonderful. So we have been working on a Kickstarter that we announced on the VR Game Showcase. And it is for Postal 2 Redux, which is, Redux is like a remake, you know, rebuilding the game on an engine, you know, improved graphics, systems, all that sort of stuff. But to make it happen, we have done a Kickstarter. And it has been very stressful because leading up to the Kickstarter, you want to get as many people following the Kickstarter page before it launches. Why do you want that? It's so that once it goes live, everyone that's following it gets an email saying it's live, and you're going to get a significant percentage of those people going to the Kickstarter and then pledging money. Whereas if you don't have anyone following and you go live, well, now you've got to get people to get ready for it. And our target was 15,000 followers. We were on like 14,000 the day before the showcase when it was going live. And like an hour before the showcase, we hit the 15,000. It was amazing. It was such a buzz. I am just going on. I'm just going to show you this here. So here we are, Postal 2 Redux. Now, I was very aware of this, but I'm honestly can't believe it, guys. We launched this yesterday, so maybe 20, maybe 30 hours ago. Yeah, exactly. 30 hours ago we did it. We're trying to raise $250,000, $250,000. We're 98% funded. It's now got the almost funded sticker. Look at this. This is in Great British pounds. So if you haven't already and you want to support us, guys, go to the Kickstarter. Support the Kickstarter. You can get the game I think it's going to be cheaper than getting it at launch. I am so proud of what our team has been able to do to make this happen. And it's been a real part of momentum. And honestly, I can't believe it. This is the first time I've worked on a Kickstarter. I think I might have worked on one before, and like so much love has gone into this. And working on the page, the graphics, the designers on my content team are so fucking talented, and they've been just like, this is the render we did. Grant from Team Beef, who worked on Madison VR. I'm doing this behind me and you can't see it. I was holding this, of course. Oh, it just started the Madison music. That scared the Blue Knees song. That scared the shit out of me. But yeah, like Grant and Team Beef working on these renders. We were working on all the graphics, and then for all the rewards, we do these graphics here. And there's just so much. And like Will, who project lead, heading the Kickstarter, doing all the copy. It got the most critically divisive video game Guinness World Records. Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been amazing to like work on this and see it come together. And then we have stretch goals. Now, this is a 30-day Kickstarter campaign. I can't tell you what I thought we were going to do, but the momentum was definitely there going into this. And at the VR Game Showcase, we showed the promo video for this that Myles and Ingrid, who work with me, worked on that as well as other videos and were absolutely amazing. Now, you're probably thinking, but this was a VR Game Showcase. Isn't this a flat screen game? Yes, it's a flat screen game, but the promo we did for the VR Game Showcase was talking about, as you can see here, Postal 2 VR. This is about anything that we do, like if we add, let's say, multiplayer, then multiplayer will also appear in the VR version of the game. And so, yeah, these were our pre-launch goals. And now here we are. And we've been refreshing it so much. And what I love is when you look at this, every so often you'll see like this update in like real time. It'll just start like flickering as someone else pledges. I really want to wait and see it happen now, but it may not. Unless one of you wants to do it now. Does one of you want to contribute? That'd be great. But yeah, this has been amazing. So the Kickstarter went live just before the VR Game Showcase, and so this was a chance to rally the VR folk who are a passionate community and saying, hey, if you want to get Postal 2 VR, this is going to probably be cheaper than getting it at launch, and then you're also backing a campaign that's going to improve the VR version of the game. So that was the second one. Third one, let me go back full screen. We announced Flat2VR Spark, which was a new initiative, and one of the questions I had in the chat actually was, and by the way, actually let me go through some of the questions because they'll relate to some of the projects I've mentioned. Salvador says, oh yeah, you excited for the Kickstarter reaching its goal? How will it affect the game? I mean, firstly, hitting the goal just means it's funded. The ultimate thing whenever you're doing projects is, do we have the funds to do this? And by the way, it just went up. Of course, when I stopped sharing the screen, it went up. Thank you for whoever backed it. Yeah, we're so excited because as soon as we hit that, we can then start looking towards stretch goals, and we can add stretch goals. We can add extra tiers. And one of the tiers in the game is to have your pet added into the game, I believe is one of them. Just absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, super excited. And to have it done this early just means there is this energy behind it. And it's the best vote is people that vote with their wallet, you know, their time. And we've still got 29 days to go. And so the more money it raises, the more we can add to this game. And yeah, this is the first time I've been involved in a game this early in development where it's in like pre-alpha and stuff. And so it's been a big learning process for me, because going back to what we were talking about marketing earlier with like, you know, preparing social posts for a game that's kind of a game that you're working on like the builds and that. When it's in pre-alpha, we're literally having conversations with Grant and being like, what can we show now? Showing it we're running with scissors. What about this? Is this true to the game? Is this something we want to show you even though it's pre-alpha? Is it going to make people hyped, or is it going to make people worried? And like, these are the conversations that you have. So yeah, very excited there. Here we go. Someone was saying this. How stoked are you guys working on Postal 2 Redux? It is amazing. I played it when I was 16. I hadn't really followed it since, but it was like, it blew my mind with like the freedom you have on a game back then. But to have Running with Scissors entrust us with something that they've worked on for 20 years, like, that's a big responsibility for us. And we take it incredibly seriously. And like with any game or project we work on, we want to do this right, you know? And so this project has been worked with Team Beef on development, Running with Scissors, And Flat2VR Studios is working on the VR one, but on the flat screen, it falls under Impact Inked, and that is our publishing arm. So actually, just to summarize everything as we go into the third announcement, Impact Reality is like the umbrella company. It's the PR marketing. Impact Reality, we support developers, even publishers sometimes, who have a VR game, but we obviously now work with flat screen games as well because we have that skill set. People want their games to have the best chance of success. And there's a lot of times where developers are so busy working on stuff, they don't want to be thinking about, we've got to create a social post. So it's like, just leave that to us. We'll take care of it. We have experience. We've worked on a wide variety of projects, and you can focus on making the game as best as you can possibly make it. So that's Impact Reality. And then under Impact Reality, we have Flat2VR Studios, as many of you know, formed from Flat2VR, which was great and still is a great modding community. And Flat2VR Studios is our studio, as the name suggests. And we take flat screen games and bring them to virtual reality. Official releases. We've done Trombone Champ already. We've done Out of Sight VR. We've done Surviving Mars VR. Things. Those two are in early access, coming out to more platforms as a full release soon. So that's Flat2VR Studios. We then have Impact Inked. Impact Inked is our publishing arm. So what does that mean? It's very similar to what we do with Impact Reality, but Impact Reality PR marketing, we are being paid for our services. People are saying, we want you to run a press release campaign. We want you to get some creators to cover our game or do some social media or run our social, all that sort of stuff. Publishing is like, no, this is a partnership. We are going to publish a game. We will take care of all the marketing and getting it out there with our great network. And, you make the game. And then, for example, you might do a revenue share, which is, we will do all the marketing, leave that to us, but we just get a revenue share once it comes out. And then Flat2VR Spark that we just announced is this new initiative. And I did have a question about it, which was by 8-Bit Moss Player, who says, I don't understand the purpose of the Spark program. Only watched it once. Brian and Jamie were speaking. Do you have IPs actually signed but are short on devs? So, I've got a press release that I can go through just to make sure I'm getting the right wording. And it's not because I'm worried about saying anything that I shouldn't be. It's more like I just don't want to be saying anything incorrect. So Impact Spark was our third announcement, and we worked there with Elliot and Eric, and we had them just talk about what is Flat2VR Spark and why are we doing it. Now, whenever you're doing especially videos for showcases, for me, there are different parts of messaging. It's what, how, and why. So when you're messaging and doing storytelling, it's important to say the what. What are we doing? That is very, very important. But it's often not the most interesting part. For me, the most interesting part is the why. The why is, why are we doing this? Because as you're talking about the why, you're also talking about the what. So what is Flat2VR Spark? And I'll give that as an example. Here we go. I'm just getting the press release that Wes Dillon from Virtual Strangers did. So what is Spark and why it exists? It says on the press release. So Spark, and actually, do you know what? Let me just put it here. Put it on screen so you can read it with me. Whoa, that's big. So here we go. So Spark is us getting back to our roots. Flat2VR started as a scrappy modding community that made the games we loved playable in VR. Spark formalizes that DNA. We pair proven modders and specialist developers with official source access and production support, so passion projects can become supported storefront releases without losing the experimental spirit that makes this scene special. Creators get paid and credited, developers get a zero upfront path with a clear revenue share, and players get more great VR games on more platforms. So, how is this working when you're asking things like this? There are loads of great modders out there, some that are using Unreal Engine VR injector, and they're like, wow, we'd love to put it in VR. And there are so many talented modders out there working on VR projects. And so Flat2VR Spark means, look, Flat2VR Studios, we're still working on our games, big titles, big projects. But what about like indie developers or modders who've actually got a really good mod for a game? And it would be amazing. But you know what? They just need a bit more support. Maybe we could help them. Well, in the case of working with the IP holder of, hey, here's an amazing game that's been worked on. Why don't we make this an official launch? And it's just about like connecting the dots and working with the community. Because what it means is, yeah, we can still be working on stuff for Flat2VR Studios, but Flat2VR Spark, see it as like an incubator. It means that we can look out for talent and great opportunities that may not get made into official launches otherwise, and share our expertise to give them the best chance of success. So that is what we're doing. I think it's amazing. It goes to the roots of what Flat2VR is about, and I just think it's great. It just means modders have a chance to pitch games and get them moved to the next level. Developers of flat screen games can have more of their games come to VR, and you VR gamers get more chance of playing more awesome VR games. Let me have a look here. This one here. This is the one here. And I know we're coming to the top of the hour. We'll go a bit over. Dead Ringer says, oh yeah, this was the one at the start. How Flat2VR Spark will impact releases on PlayStation VR 2? Would we expect this to double the games expected? Triple? Hard to tell. So, the question about this is, Flat2VR Spark, we showed 3 games on there, which were The Signal, Stranded on Serenus, I Am Your Beast VR, and Flat Out 4, Total Insanity VR. But we didn't say any, we just showed work in progress, and we didn't give any dates or any platforms. The question is bluntly being put to me, and this is what I would be asking, and I was asking about it internally because I'm a massive PSVR 2 fan, is, are all these games coming to PSVR 2? We do not have anything to announce at this time. These projects are work in progress, and as you'll see with some of the things we worked with, like Out of Sight VR and Surviving Mars, we always do our best to bring games to all 3 platforms, Steam VR, MetaQuest, and PSVR 2. I think that's really, really important, and we should be doing that as much as possible. There are some cases where things are in early development, or maybe, you know, in that early development, it's just on 1 platform or 2 platforms and we're not able to do it. However, when it comes to the fundamentals of what we're promising, as Impact Reality, as Flat2VR Studios, as Impact Inked, as Flat2VR Spark, we are saying loudly and clearly, as fans of VR, that it is our intention to bring as many VR titles to as many platforms as possible. I know that doesn't answer what you're saying, but you were saying, what can we expect? Is this going to double the games expected, triple? It's going to increase the games. More VR titles are now going to be coming to PSVR 2. I can't ascribe them to these titles because they're in early development. But yeah, Flat2VR Spark is going to mean more games for PSVR 2. So, fuck yeah. I think that's awesome, right? Another one here was... DJ Chamber says, was the Flat Out 4 footage something totally separate from the Flat Out game, Flat2VR, already announced, or was it the same game? That part wasn't too clear. I'm going to give an honest answer on that. I would need to check with it. I would need to get back to you on that. But yeah, we had one at the last VR game showcase, but Flat Out 4 is being worked on. And as you could see from the video, like the cockpit and inside of it was amazing. It looks so great because the last trailer we had was just flat screen footage. But yeah. Dominic asks, before we get to the final one, question, was announcement date for Hoverbike, V-Racer Hoverbike for PSVR 2 not possible or big enough news for the show? Really looking forward to it. I don't think we have a release date for it yet. All I can say is it's been worked on, the PSVR 2 port, and what I love about Vertex Breakers, the developers of V-Racer Hoverbike, and to be honest, this is for a lot of developers, but especially in this project, I've noticed it. They are so mindful of ensuring that this game is the best it can possibly be for PSVR 2. So they're like, right now, because we're talking about like updates we can do for the game on MetaQuest and SteamVR in the meantime, and for them they're like, we can do little things here and there, and they have been very proactive. They've done some really good things, but I think they've just added a cosmetic you can unlock if you leave a review on the MetaQuest store, which is awesome. But for them, they are just fully focused like on the PSVR 2 port, and I can't wait for you guys to experience it on PSVR 2. Some of the most fun. I need some water. Some of the most fun I've had in VR for a long time. Virtual Renaissance says, in the Virtual Strangers 2024 show, Eric Masher spoke about there being announcements from Flat2VR that would shock us. Have we had those yet? I'm going to answer this in two ways, and this is not me dodging it. Obviously, there are things that haven't been announced yet that I'm not going to be announcing right now. But also the fact that what shocks one person won't shock others. So the final announcement we made, for me, yesterday was a massive announcement. And it did shock people. Some people were like, let's effing go. And like, oh my God, I can't believe this is coming to VR, like officially. And that was Poppy Playtime. But then Brian Poole, watching on the Without Parole live stream. And by the way, as I say this, I love Brian. And I love Brian, the fact that he says exactly what he thinks. And we'll be talking about it on the show tonight, no doubt. He literally saw it. And I remember as soon as it got shown live, I went to their stream and watched it because they were on a bit of a delay. And Brian went something along the lines of, oh, yay. Just like completely underwhelmed. And I wouldn't say I was heartbroken. I thought I'd have been. I'd be like, no, that's a completely honest reaction. And there are going to be people that think that. But also for me, like, that was the thing I was so excited. And actually, that was the one I was like, I can't wait to see people react to this thing. So, I'm going to get back to your question in a minute. So the final announcement we did was we were announcing that Poppy Playtime VR was coming. This is a massive IP. Now, for those that don't know, Poppy Playtime is a kids horror game, but Jesus Christ, guys, kids horror games are just like, I mean, I'm just going to show you this image. Can I open this in a new tab? I mean, this is a thing of nightmares. That's Huggy Wuggy. This is on the flat screen game. You're going down, and then Huggy Wuggy comes up the vent or wherever you're in. Doing this in VR, you're in a toy factory. This is going to be terrifying in VR for me. Maybe not for others. But yeah, I'm super, super excited for it. So this was just an announcement. We didn't say anything about platforms or release date or anything like this. This is literally an announcement. Flat2VR Studios, we're working on Poppy Playtime VR. So hyped for it. And Baz, who worked on the video, we had so much fun. So like going back to like what it's like working on it, we were on a call and we were like, how are we going to announce this? And for me, it was important that we did something that was true to the IP. And Paradise Decay, hello, says, Poppies is scary. I played it with you, EVR. There we go. Virtual Renaissance says, I'd never heard of Poppy. Well, this is the other thing. You're not going to be shocked if you never heard of it to yesterday, but I've seen the trailer for the flat version. I'm really looking forward to it now. And that's really great to hear. By the way, thank you for all the comments, guys. About everything there. Lots of comments. I was looking at all the questions and stuff. So yeah, thank you, everyone. Yeah, we were sat there and we were like, how are we going to do it? And so we just looked at the original Poppy Playtime trailer and we said, you know what? We're just going to take elements. We don't want to create anything new because obviously this is just an announcement. We obviously have test builds and stuff like that, but we haven't got really anything else. There's nothing we're going to show. So we just took some elements from the flat screen and then we just decided to use the text on the screen. Because do you know what? I'll show you. I'll show it with. And by the way, it definitely has. It's like Five Nights at Freddy's in terms of. Let me put it. I don't want to get a copyright strike. Let me just put myself on screen here. Where am I? Hello, everyone. So This is what I love about the content team at Impact Reality. Honestly, I keep praising them. They are so amazing. They are like the reason that I like waking up every morning. Afternoon, probably, because I'm normally working until the early hours of the morning. The content team at Impact Reality are so enthusiastic. They're so engaged. They're so smart and innovative. Always looking at, like, how do you look outside the box, which is a very VR thing to do because you're not inside a box. You're in a three-dimensional world that's interactive with a lot to show. And they just inspire me. And with how busy things are, I don't as much as I'd like to, like, brainstorm with them ideas. We do from time to time, but the point is they just go with ideas and run with it. And we were like, we want to showcase we want to do a showcase and show, like, the titles that we've been working on, but how do we do it in a very quick way? And so Looper goes, this is literally a copy of the Sony Studios clip. I love it. I promise you it wasn't a direct copy, but it is very similar. And Baz, who worked on this, do you know what? I'm showing you behind the scenes stuff. He worked on this in a day, this beginning bit, and I know you're not even seeing it yet, but just to show you, like, what he was working on. I do have a screenshot of this, surely. I must do. Maybe it's on my desktop. Oh my god, do I not have it? Give me a second, guys. It's definitely worth showing if I do have it. Maybe I should, like, make the icons a bit bigger. Maybe it's from the previous 30 days. No. I can't show it. I mean, I literally don't have it. But he basically made in virtual space. And some of you who do this probably are aware of this already. This is not something I'm aware of. He made a three-dimensional space and put a virtual camera. So he made a virtual studio. And then over, like, 4 or 5 hours, he was... and Clem Fandango says, more like ploppy playtime. Dude, I slipped on my words on the meeting. I called it ploppy playtime. And then I was like, poppy... it was so embarrassing. That could be its own spin-off. So he then made this, and he had to render it several times. He had to come up with the clips first of our games. He then had to design, like, the volumetrics. And then he had to create the reflections on the wall. And, like, this is what it looked like. And it was just a way of just, like, showing the things that we were working on. And after he made it, there were some things we looked at and went, oh, we could use maybe a better clip here and there. But it was going to take another 4 or 5 hours to do. But this is the reality, is when you're working on projects, guys, don't let perfect be enemy of the good. Because we could have, when everyone saw this at the company internally, everyone was just in shock of, like, oh my God, this is so epic. This looks gorgeous. And then as you start analysing it, we're like... So I'll give you an example here. Look at that third panel for Surviving Mars. Third panel from the left. So this was all good. And then it cuts to that, which isn't that great. I mean, it's fine, but it's fine. The fifth panel of Postal, it's like maybe you could have had Postal Dude there or something like that. There's all these questions. But is it worth spending another 4 or 5 hours when you could be working on other stuff? So we agreed, like, don't let perfect be enemy of the good. And the fact that we loved it when we first saw it, people aren't going to be picking and choosing on that sort of stuff. You go on to the next thing, which was the announcement of Poppy Playtime. So me and Baz worked on the script. So we came up with this, and we said it should be like one more thing, one more surprise. So we have this. One more surprise hidden in the shadows. And then we just had that. Now that was actually this is the original cut. This is not the one on the show. That was how originally it was going to be. But then actually what we did, we thought that's too slow. So I'm showing you actually an old version. So that was the original one. But what we then did in the final one, we had like Poppy coming down the corridor, just so you had a bit more time, because I saw it when it was showing, and this is the amazing thing, is when you see people watching on the live stream, as it was showing, I saw Brian smiling as he saw the like one more thing, and he's like, well, what is this? And then when Poppy's down, Huggy Wuggy, right, is walking down the corridor. I saw him lean in a bit, if my memory serves me right. And seeing that, and like you hear it all the time from devs of like what it's like to react, to be a part of something personally and see it, especially people that you know and you love and you respect, it's the ultimate privilege. So yeah, that was the final part of the show. And while the show was on, we knew that, just to explain like how mad it is. So for each of those announcements, we need to post like the vertical versions on TikTok and Instagram or Facebook stories, and then the regular versions on like Facebook or on YouTube. So we have our team and we're in a chat, just like 4 of us, so we can think. Everyone in the company is like in a party watching it live, which is exactly what they should be doing. All the devs that work hard on all these things, they should get to celebrate. But when the VR Game Showcase are on, I've actually still not watched the full VR Game Showcase, which breaks my heart and saddens me. Everyone's watching it and enjoying it. I am like anxiously, just because I knew that Trombone Champ, Jamie loved what we had so much. He was like, we're going to close the show with what you guys are working on. And I was like, and by the way, one of the developers that we're working with, Hidden.io, one of their trailers, which we helped with doing the socials on, they had a trailer for Zix, which is so much fun, and I can't wait for that. If you haven't already, wishlist Zix on MetaQuest if you can, or pre-order it. It's a roguelike. Just love what they're doing. Really, really creative. They're making the game that they would love to play. So yeah, let's just say for each of those announcements, we're going to be not resharing on other accounts. We're posting it on account, Flat2VR Studios. That means it'd be Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. That's 5 accounts. So that means we're posting on at least 20 social media accounts for those 4 announcements, in addition to everything else we're doing, like resharing on other accounts and dealing with Reddit and Discord and all that kind of stuff. And we're told Trombone Champ is at 33 minutes past the hour. And then the final announcement, the Poppy, is at like 37 minutes. So that means 20 social posts in 4 minutes. Now, when we were doing it in March, we did 6 trailers. So we were doing it across like 30 to 35 platforms. I felt sick because it was just so much we were dealing with. And I learned a lot from it. And what I learned most was being on the other side. The game is showing now. Oh, we're having troubles uploading it. Oh my God, it's been 4 minutes already. What's going on? I'm looking at this. My watch is on this hand. You know, why is it going up? Don't let perfect be enemy of the good. You know, I said that already in terms of a design aesthetic perspective. It also means when you upload stuff. Of course, the fundamentals, you definitely want to get it on X as quick as you can. You want to get ahead of stuff. But like Reddit, for example, sometimes it's better to let the community post about it because it's more organic. Let the fans and the community run with your content and share it online. But obviously on your main accounts, you should definitely share it. So yeah, if you post something 10 minutes after it's announced, yes, every minute matters, but don't like batter yourself over it because you're not. It is a bit of a performance thing as well. Speaking to Jamie about it, like it's about making a statement. But it is important. But also like people watching the show, they're watching the show, you know, and people be looking at elsewhere. So that was something I learned, and it was still stressful yesterday, but I definitely was much kinder to myself about it. But yeah. Anyway. I've spoken a lot, but hopefully that gave you some interesting insight about how it works. And a massive thank you, by the way, to Paradise Decay with the £2. New pants after playing Poppies. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Thank you. Honestly. Really, really. And yeah, well done, Shapeshifter. Welcome for being a member. I'm going to go through just any final... I've got 2 questions. And yeah, any final questions about the VR Game Showcase, my perspective. But hopefully that gave you a bit of insight. I'm still buzzing. I didn't go to sleep until 6 o'clock this morning. I then went to sleep for 2 hours. Then I had to brief some of my team in the UK on stuff as they woke up. Then went back to bed till like 2 p.m. And then I've been working since. And I'm going to be working a bit for the next 50 minutes before Without Parole. But yeah, let's actually have a look at the Kickstarter, shall we? we are $4,000 away from hitting it. That is absolutely insane. Because when I saw $250,000, and I didn't doubt it, but like $250,000 is a lot of money to me. Like in terms of like as a gamer, like going into this space, obviously for development is very expensive. And I'm just like, $250,000 is a lot to raise. And to be honest, I thought we were going to hit it. But in 30 hours, that is incredible. That is so incredible. Yeah, just absolutely amazing. So thank you to anyone who's watching who's donated. It really means a lot. And it is a thing. There's a lot of people that bought Trombone Champ, not because they were fans of the game, but because they wanted to back what we're doing. And I said earlier about voting with your wallet. If you believe in what we're trying to do across the board, which is to lift VR up, whether it's supporting developers directly, bringing them on board with publishing, or bringing flat screen games to VR, this is what we're doing. And look, everything we do, you're not going to like. Different games are for different people. And going back to that question I had earlier about, this was the last one, about announcements from Flat2VR that would shock us. Have we had those yet? As I said, Poppy Playtime would be one that I'd say would shock. Do we have more announcements that would shock people? And the answer is absolutely yes. Like, things are just building up more and more. Because every time that we do something, it establishes us more in the industry. It builds our credibility. And it means we're then able to build more relationships and foster new partnerships with IPs that we would either like to publish or bring to VR. And there are some IPs that are just absolutely mind-blowing. But I say that also, going back to what I said at the start, I don't want to overhype stuff. I don't want you thinking now at any time that we announce stuff, it's going to be Grand Theft Auto 6 in VR. Like, all I would say is look at the trajectory, look at what we're doing. And even if Poppy Playtime isn't the game for you, there is no doubt that that is a gigantic IP. And to be trusted with that, to work on a VR version is amazing. And to do it like with Postal 2 Redux, not just like a VR version, but like a rebuilding of it is absolutely incredible. So yeah, there's much more to come, guys. And Ryan says, when do we get Pokemon Go VR? I always say if Nintendo does a headset or they partnership with Microsoft, because I know they do a lot of stuff together, if they do a VR headset, if Pokemon VR comes out, it's game over. I'm never leaving VR ever again. Jubesy says, very true, Myles. That saying helps as I currently stare at a small lighting imperfection on a character's shirt after a 12-hour Unreal Engine render. Don't let perfect be enemy of the good and great. It's so true. You know what? I'll end on this note. I talk about this a lot, and maybe I'll do a full Myles Dyer live on this. And once again, thank you everyone for tuning in. If anyone could do timestamps for this episode, I don't normally ask for them, but I think this might be a good one that I might share and clip afterwards, because I think this might give some good insight into what it's like working in this. And there'll be other people that are watching this that work in the industry that might have their own thoughts on it as well, which would be great. But I mention this a lot, and I always talk about this example because this is when it really distilled it for me. My band many years ago were playing in Camden in London, and we were playing at a festival at a pub. And we were preparing backstage to go on, and the band before us came off, and I remember the drummer was like tutting and ahhing, and he looked a bit frustrated, and I was like, hey, what's up, man? Great set. He's like, oh, man, I made a mistake, and, and it distilled the thought in my mind, and I said to him, look, I totally understand the frustration, but when you're a performer, there are two things that you are conscious of. There is your intention, as in what you're setting out to do, and then there's the performance. Now, you as a performer are aware of those two things. And so if you make a mistake or you render something and there's a lighting imperfection or something that's not quite right, you do a drawing and the line isn't quite smooth the way it connects up when you loop it round. You're aware of it more than anyone because you had the intention of what you wanted to do and you're comparing it to the output, what actually was there. But what the audience, the consumer, sees with everything that you do is just the output. They don't see your intention. Now, sometimes they will see imperfections. Sometimes they will call stuff out. And it is important that we have a duty of care to make sure things are of the highest quality standard. But the idea of not letting perfect be enemy of the good is because far too often we stress over things that people wouldn't even notice. And I think it's often said that the hardest part of being an artist in any form is knowing when to walk away, because no work is ever truly finished. And that is why, as human beings, we are able to progress, innovate, and do amazing things, especially in interesting, interactive mediums like the gaming space, and especially in immersive, interactive mediums such as VR gaming. And so, yeah, I would say to any of you out there, sorry, losing my voice, a lot of talking. If any of you out there are ever kicking yourself, just always think about that. What are the audience going to see? They're not going to see your intention. They're only going to see the output. And so why not show it to someone? Show it to a friend and see what they see. But there. All right, everyone. We have run way over, but this has been a wonderful, wonderful show to do. And I am grateful to all of you. Please do hit the like button before you head out. And do comment below with your final thoughts. But next week is going to be the 200th episode. So do come hang out. It's going to be a good time. I don't know what I've got planned. I might just share the interview link with some friends to see if they want to jump on the show, maybe prior guests and stuff. Or maybe just put it in the chat so any of you can join. Maybe we'll do that. We'll have to wait and see. But finally, Vitamin G, we always like to end on, which is a moment of the show every week where I invite you to talk about something that you're grateful for in life. It could be a person, it could be an experience, it could be a location, it could be a thing, a thingy thing, or a VR game, or maybe a VR game showcase. It can be anything, but you don't have to share it in the chat. I invite you to, of course, but just thinking about it every day is really good for your mental health. It makes you focus on the positives. And so for me, my Vitamin G is, it could go out to so many people. I mean, it's going to sound obvious from everything I've talked about today. It's going to go out to the VR community, whether it is the developers that work so hard to create magical experiences for us, whether it's the publishers that take these games and help them get seen by as many people as possible so they succeed and more can be made of them, whether it is the creators that champion these mediums. Jamie and Zeno on the VR Game Showcase, they do absolutely wonderful work there and are real true champions of it. Obviously Brian Paul on Without Parole, Wes, AJ, Jamie, he was doing the show yesterday, myself, why not? I appreciate myself, and the players, all of you out there, and I'm going to say the viewers. I understand that not all of you who watch my shows on Wednesdays are VR gamers, but hopefully you understand or found it interesting, like looking behind the curtain of what it's like to work in this space, because there's a lot of things here that apply to other things as well. And I'm just grateful for everyone, because gaming is a luxury product, VR gaming, and especially at a time when the economy is struggling, when there's a lot of terrible things going on in the world as well. Like when we think about escapism, VR is like ultimate escapism. And I'm just grateful because the job I'm working in right now, I said quite a lot recently that in many ways I kind of don't recognize I do recognize the person I am. I am me, but like I am literally the person I always dreamed of becoming, which is like confident, feel like I'm in the right place, and feel empowered to like push things forward. And some of the feedback I've been getting from very senior people in the industry has been just mind-blowing. And I don't take it as an ego boost. I take it as reassurance to refine what I'm doing, to just do things even better and keep pushing things forward. So much love to all of you, and appreciate you very, very much. Okay, just having a look at any Vitamin G's right now. Shapeshifter says the existence of Forefront Battlefield in VR. Hell yeah. Callie says all the people resolutely standing up for all marginalised communities during this tough time. Always important. And even if you can't be at these events, just amplifying voices and speaking out is super, super important. And thank you, Ryan, who says, I'm grateful that you're feeling much happier in the role you're in now. Yeah, it's tough. And I've been very vocal internally that if it was any other job, I probably wouldn't be around anymore, because it's long hours, it's tough, but I love the people I work with. I love the mission. I love the what. I love how we're doing it. And most importantly, I love the why. So yeah. Thank you, everyone. We're going to go to the final roundup. Feel free to keep giving your vitamin Gs and any final thoughts about the show, anything that I've spoken about. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you next time. So check out the VR Game Showcase. Please check out Flat2VR Studios and Postal 2 Redux. And back the Postal 2 Kickstarter. We are so close. You might be the person that gets us over the line to 100%. Who knows? Yeah, we are literally, oh my goodness, we're like $2,800 away. Incredible. Thank you, everyone. Take good care of yourselves. Love, respect, empathy, and adios. Till next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I love the positivity. You're all so wonderful, wonderful. And 20 of you have still stuck behind. Yeah, really, really grateful. Cool. I got to jump off, just check in with the team, make sure everything's all right as we're approaching the full Kickstarter thing. Oh my goodness, if that happens while I'm on air for Without Parole, that's going to be wild. I realise I haven't had dinner yet. And I've got pizza left over from yesterday, but I already had it for breakfast, and that'll probably make me unwell. So I've got some blueberries, I've got some granola, and I've got some Greek yogurt with a bit of honey, right? That'll be good. Yeah, I'm going to do that. How's that for an end of a show? Me talking about my train of thought about what I'm going to eat. Catch you later. Much love, everyone. You're great.